The secret of the Amarna mummies. DNA of Akhenaten Underbar Nefertiti and Tutankhamun. Part 1. The first study of the royal mummies of the New Kingdom 14th–13th century BC was published in 1912 by G. E. Smith, followed by numerous X-ray images and skull examinations by researchers E. Wendt, K. Weeks and J. Harris. More recently, a controversial facial reconstruction and several court scans of the mummy KV35 Kings Valley 35 were created. The high point of research to date, however, is an ancient DNA study Amarna of Tutankhamun's family, which was published in 2010. Although Amarna shows the family relationships of family members, it cannot name individuals. This is done only by comparing historical and archaeological evidence. Difficult to identify royal mummies. The royal mummies of the New Kingdom were distributed in various cachettes, mostly in coffins used for secondary purposes, and were sometimes inscribed with names by the priests of the Third Intermediate Period. Other mummies, however, were found naked and without any identifying information, such as the mummy from KV55 and the two female mummies KV35L Elder Lady and KV35 Younger Lady. The two female mummies were found together with that of a youth in the side chamber JC of the tomb KV35. However, there are also reliably identifiable persons from the Amarna period who rested in situ in their tombs. In addition to King Tutankhamun KV62, this is also the case for the parents-in-law of Amenhotep III, Juja and Chuja KV46. These elements of the Amarna family tree are therefore secured. The family tree of the Amarna kings, the generation of Tutankhamun's great-grandparents, is well documented. The mummy of Thutmose IV was discovered in KV35, room JB, in 1898. The mummy was inscribed with his throne and personal name. His wife and the mother of Amenhotep III was his concubine Mutenwea, whose mummy has not been found to this day. The mummy was preserved, but it is in a deplorable condition. It was also found in tomb KV35, room JB, right next to her father. The king's name was written on the shroud. The king died at the age of about 50. This probably correlates with the dates of life of Amenhotep III, since he ascended the throne as a young man and ruled for 38 years. The differences in the shape of the head between Amenhotep III and the mummy in KV55 are obvious, although according to the Amarna analysis the two are father and son. However, there is a strong similarity in the shape of the skull of the mummy in KV55 and her son Tutankhamun. For a long time, the identity of the mummy found in the Amarna hiding place KV55 in 1907 was controversially discussed. Because of the wide hips, researchers initially suspected that it was a woman, namely Queen Tiye. Then the mummy was recognized as a man and in the following decades was alternately interpreted as Akhenaten or his co-ruler Semenshkare. The skull's resemblance to Tutankhamun is generally recognized. Therefore, the mummy in KV55 was considered to be the father if identified as Akhenaten, or as a brother/half brother if interpreted as Semenshkare. The identity of the elder lady. Further Amarna studies were able to identify the mummy in KV55 as the son of Amenhotep III and the mummy KV35L. Based on the historical sources, an identification as Akhenaten is almost inevitable. The female mummy KV35L also supports this interpretation. The Amarna analysis strongly suggests that the mummy KV35L is the daughter of Juja and Chuja and thus Queen Tej. Her age at death is currently estimated to be around 50 years. This means that Amenhotep III and Tej are relatively certain to be the grandparents of Tutankhamun. Akhenaten and Nefertiti, the parents of Tutankhamun. The following applies to the parents of Tutankhamun, who are identical to the mummies from KV55 and KV35. Based on the Amarna, the father can almost certainly be identified as King Akhenaten, from which Tutankhamun's claim to the throne was derived. The identity of the mother, however, is not absolutely certain. According to genetic analysis, she is not only the mother of Tutankhamun, but also the sister wife of Akhenaten, as she has the same parents. This incestuous marriage suggests that she held the role of great royal wife, which corresponds to the tradition of the royal family. She would therefore be identified as Queen Nefertiti. An equation of KV35 and Nefertiti was first postulated by Marianne Lubin in 1999. Joanne Fletcher also identified her as Nefertiti in 2004, as the facial reconstruction of the Lady X obviously resembles the portraits of the Queen. The mummy is a woman aged around 25 to 35 with a completely shaved head and a slight curvature of the spine, which she may have inherited from her mother Taye. Inscriptions also confirm that Tutankhamun was the son of Akhenaten and Nefertiti, thus supporting the identification of Nefertiti with the mummy KV35. In the royal tomb of Akhenaten, Mark Gabold reconstructs the inscription in room Gamma as follows: the biological king's son, whom he loves, Tutankhamun, born of the great king's wife Nefertiti, who may live forever and ever. Here we find further evidence that Tutankhamun was the biological son of Akhenaten and Nefertiti. According to current research, the identification of the younger lady from KV35 with the beautiful Queen Nefertiti is therefore to be supported. The resulting theory is culturally consistent. Amenhotep I married one of his sisters, whose original name cannot currently be determined with certainty, possibly one of the four daughters of Amenhotep III known by name Satamun, Isis, Akhenaten or Nebutar. The name of Nefertiti first appears in connection with the first Aten temple in Karnak III RD year of the reign of Amenhotep I. She calls herself Nefertiti. The new queen had apparently changed her name to Nefertiti. This must be seen as theologically motivated and was specially designed for the new Sun religion. A few years later, Amenhotep I followed his wife's example and also changed his name to Akhenaten.